This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Hello and welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you've been building rifles if you just bought your first rifle or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined as always by my co-host, Garth Oper.
Hey, how we doing?
And Tyler Brockle.
Hey, everybody.
So, what are you guys up to?
I am 3D printing bootleg night vision panoramic goggles off the internet. It's going to be fun. So, actually, it's a project that Dooley had started. He's got all the stuff for it. I'm just 3D printing the housings right now, but should be pretty fun. And yeah, about 9 hours we'll have our first monocular done.
Nice.
Yep. We'll get into that a little bit later. That might lead into some of the stuff that I've been looking at and researching, but not buying yet.
Yes.
Because my wife tells me that all these boxes keep showing up, and she's trying to, clean the house and throw things away. And every box she gets out, she has another one show up for me that's random shit. So
Thank her for that family separation pay you're getting.
how about you, Garth? What have you been up to?
Oh man, nothing gun related this last week. It's been windy as heck here in South Dakota, so been dealing with fire situations, and that's about it. So yeah, been playing firefighter instead of actually worrying about guns.
Well, that's a worthy cause, though.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Oh, and before I forget, I have to do a shout out to two young listeners of ours, Colt and Kimber. They are watching the show live. Well, I don't know if they're watching live, but they're going to watch it with their daddy later. So
I bet their parents aren't gun fanatics at all.
actually, no, they're not. They chose those names at random, and then learned later on that they are actually gun names.
It's strange. No one would ever see that.
Actually, that's not true. They are gun fanatics. Although that did happen to another friend of mine who named her kid Ruger, and then came to find out that she's like, I don't want anything South Dakota, any gun related at all. Names her kid Ruger, and then finds out like a year later that it's possibly the biggest name in the gun manufacturer world. So she was baffled.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like, even a simple Google search would have fixed that one.
Well, you would think, but they live in a very blue state, so I won't say anything more than that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, well, Tyler's 3D printing and Garth's fighting fire.
Yeah.
I talked to him since he'd got his new 3D printer and said, hey, you want to do these housings for me? You can test out your printer. And we talked about that. So I have been looking at, setting up a budget night vision, like a night vision setup for the poors. Because, we had, ATN on last year to talk about like weapon mounted night vision and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
These bootleg panoramic night vision that we'll be building will be a helmet mounted. And, well, it is handy that the government gives me a helmet. I should probably have one of my own to, test these things out on.
You don't want a 20-pound helmet on your head?
Strangely enough, I would prefer not.
Here, how do I share the screen? I can actually show everybody what they're going to be. Oh, here we go. Share screen. Yep. That one. There we go. You guys see those? Oh, there we are.
Yep.
Normally $50,000. You can have them for the low cost of $500. Not from us. This is free to download. You can make it yourself.
Yeah, so it actually uses the cameras off of first-person drones for people who do first-person drone racing.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's
Have you ever watched that stuff? That is insane, by the way.
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it's a setup like that. So naturally, if one is going to be running something like that, we should, instead of 50,000, it's 500. Well, instead of a $1,000 helmet, I should do a $50 helmet, and then set up everything like that so it can be a true night vision for the pores.
Yep. Make sure you use your high point with it too.
Oh yeah, the rifle or just the pistol?
Oh,
Yes.
well, you got to have your primary and secondary.
All right, fair enough.
Actually, maybe we'll break out the Maverick 88 for that. But no, it's just a fun project that'll be getting soldered together and played with later on. And
Just say, give me a few more hours, you can probably get a gun to go with it eventually.
Yep, get ready for that makers match.
Yeah.
And but no, I was looking at that and then debating on what to do for Ear Pro and stuff like that, because I've run Howard lights forever because, well, they work, and I've had the same pair that I think I have now tripled the cost of what they were when I bought them.
Get those gel ear pads. It's worth it.
Oh, yeah, got the Noise Fighter gel ear pads. Then I have Flatline Fiber Ear Pro wrap in God's plaid. So good old M81 woodland camouflage.
Yeah.
So the Ear Pro wrap has like a breathable mesh on the bottom side, and then it allows a little bit more airflow so you don't have that leather strap on top of your head. I guess I could grab it and show you because strangely enough, they're right here beside me in that 20-pound helmet.
Great. This is great air for.
Oh, yeah, great.
Podcasting.
But yeah, we had Flatline Fiber go on, so
Okay.
it's just another little nice piece that makes these it's a little bit nicer to wear. And then, of course, has the Velcro on top. So I will generally have a name tape on there as I put my duty bag back together. And
I mean, if we're sharing, then I can actually pull mine up, which I think are way more stylish than yours.
yes, he has the big luau of the Hawaiian print on Gars.
Very tactile flowers.
Very much
very,
so.
Very much so.
They match my Hawaiian shirts when
Personality. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But
good stuff.
So that'll be a project I get going a little bit later to set that up, where I will do some helmet mounted Ear Pro and go down some of those rabbit holes. I might mount the set I have now just because they're starting to get old and kind of crackly, and move those onto the helmet where it won't be used as much, and buy myself a new set for daily use.
I would really like it, though, if you showed up to a 3-gun match wearing it. Helmet and all.
That could happen.
No, it needs to happen.
I can only imagine the comments that would be said at our local club matches if I showed up wearing that.
Oh, no, I'm thinking like maybe show up to the Canton one.
Yeah, show up to one of the larger regional matches doing that. I would probably do that.
I know you would.
I would probably even do it with a plate carrier.
And maybe some Ranger panties.
That's been known to happen. But, well, that might be enough about Ranger panties. All these things do have Velcro on them, and you know what works great for Velcro?
What's that?
Patches.
Patches. Nice.
And where can they get patches?
Well, I suppose they could go to patriotpatch.co for all their patch needs. I mean, they have everything you can imagine. I actually just got my patch of the month, and it's right here. I should probably open that up. I have not yet. So let's go on an adventure together.
Oh, look at this. We're having an unboxing live on it.
Let's see what the patch of the month is this week.
Yep.
Ooh, I like it already.
Well, Garth is going through an amazing audio explanation of what the patch is. We will, Jake and the guys over at Patriot Patch Club do have an awesome amount of morale patches, metal signs, and all of the things to keep you going on that.
You guys like The Mandalorian? Because I enjoy The Mandalorian a lot.
Oh, shit.
Yes, that is a
Easter bunny riding a speeder bike, wearing the Mandalorian helmet. It's fantastic. That is a great patch.
That is a solid patch. So as we get through here, we talked about what we talk about today, and a couple weeks ago we talked about accuracy.
We did.
And last week, while Tyler wasn't here, we talked about barrels.
And I still want to scratch that a lot more, but when we have someone who's a little bit more knowledgeable than me on, and just asking you softball questions.
Which end does the bullet come out
of?
Well,
that depends.
Yeah, it's true.
I've been watching a few videos. Well, I mean, even me this week with the 22, man. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that right now.
Well, you said you hadn't done anything gun-related, but you had a 22 kind of explode on you.
Well, yeah, the gun did not. The bullet definitely did. The casing, I should say, exploded. And so it's floating around my pickup somewhere. I lost it when I was headed to a fire call the other day, so I'll have to find it. I do have a picture of it.
Just out of curiosity, what brand of ammunition was that?
Oh, do we lose him?
It might have been roboting out because he did say that they had really high winds and hadn't been, so internet was kind of spotty.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he will join us and come back.
I'm back, but I might have to do a restart. Yeah, the high winds are definitely a problem here. Yep. I'll post the picture on the Instagram, and it'll, yeah.
So what brand of ammo was that?
I'm pretty sure it was Remington.
Okay, I just wasn't sure because it's well, I was going to say when you're talking about that, I've had issues before with ammunition, but it's always been Federal that has I still have pieces of Federal brass riding around inside of my face. But we did have one of the guys, since we were talking about Ear Pro a little bit earlier, he said, Tom says, could you guys touch on hearing protection? I use in-ear foam, and I'm thinking about over-the-ear type. Tom, if you're thinking about getting a electronic muff, highly recommend them. There are, and we lost Garth. I'm sure he'll be back.
I'm going to go grab mine while you start your piece.
There are really two brands that I would recommend, especially if you're just looking to get into it and going to try it out. Howard Lick is what I would consider kind of the go-to or standard for what most people use to start out with. Walkers have become another great option for that. I personally run Howard Likes, and Tyler is showing the Walkers, which came from Walker's Game Ear. And honestly, they are both about the same, just a nice gel cup goes over your ear, and they have the electronic enhancement, so you can still hear things, and then it will block out everything for when you're shooting.
The biggest thing is you can hear people talk. So with these and the Howard lights and a lot of the other stuff out there, anything below 88 decibels, these will not filter. And there's actually a microphones here on the side. So like if Dooley and I were on the range and we were wearing these, I would actually be able to hear him better than if I wasn't wearing these. And so you don't have to sit there and just yell at each other at the top of your lungs like you do when you have just foam shoved into your ears. So that's a huge, huge benefit to these. Plus, they're very comfortable.
Yep.
I recommend the Walkers. I hear the Howard lights are really good. I've never owned a pair. These are the Walker Slims, and they also make these. These ones are also Bluetooth. So not only do I use these for the gun range, but I'll also use these to mow the lawn, because I can pair my phone and actually listen to music while I'm using it for just, protection around the house from loud noises and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Howard Light also has a set that's Bluetooth now as well. Otherwise, they just ran the standard aux cord that you could plug into your Ear Pro and then like into an MP3 player, your phone, a comm radio.
Yeah.
I know that you can run a cheap comm setup with a push to talk that has that auxiliary jack that'll go up to your Ear Pro and have that. So if you're just looking at getting into over the ear, I would look highly at either the Howard Light or the Walkers. And now Tyler's going to show you his expensive, really nice setup that has, the Peltor Comtex and the helmet mount.
So obviously the gold standard out there right now is the Peltors. You've pretty much seen these guys in any video game, you name it. They are extremely comfortable. These particularly are helmet mounted. You can get ones that aren't. You can take them off. They're very modular, just like everything else is in the gun world. What's great about these, though, as far as hearing protection, it's roughly the same quality. Where you get a huge benefit from the higher end stuff is with the noise cancellation and then actually the quality of sound that's coming through. I noticed with the Walkers, which again are like a $60 pair, I get a little bit more wind noise in my ear than I do the $600 Peltors. And there's actually there's another company that's out there called OpsCore. They have the OpsCore version of this. They're about $1,000, so they're a lot more expensive. But they're super innovative in the sense that they also have an in-the-ear plug. Then they have their over-the-ear, and the in-the-ear ones will actually, I think, wirelessly wirelessly transmit power so that they will still amplify the sound in your ears while giving you twice the amount of hearing protection. So I think I would have went with them, but I just couldn't justify spending $1,000. It was a hard enough pill to swallow for the $600 ones. So.
Yep, and I know that there are some knockoffs of that. When it comes to your ears, I probably wouldn't trust the airsoft grade stuff, because hearing doesn't come back, and you can have some sweet accessories like I have to wear around every day. And
not cheap out on Ear Pro, Eye Pro, or body armor. That's not the things to go cheap on.
Correct. But so that is our dive down Ear Pro for a little bit there for Tom.
Yeah.
But let's get back into what was going to be our main topic for today.
Now that we're a third of the way through the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it'll work out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Garth will come back and join us here as soon as his computer restarts or whatever else it was he was working on. But
so what are we going to talk about?
We are here to talk about handguards.
another vital component in not only the modularity of your gun, but also the accuracy as well, which kind of been the topic the last few weeks. So,
Yep. And when it comes to handguards, there's a lot of things that go into it.
a lot of
Be-
considerations.
That there are definitely a lot of considerations, and there's different styles, and there's we touched on it with like the free floated versus non free floated when we were talking about accuracy a couple weeks ago. And then we also started to talk about, oh, well, there's this and how they attach and, whatnot with that.
Why don't
And
we just do a quick recap? Because I think the big category is drop in versus free float. So how about we start off by touching on, what the difference is between them and why you'd want one over the other.
yep, well,
it's dive into the options.
Those are the two biggest things, obviously, is the drop in versus the free floated. And when we talk about drop in, we would be talking about on a standard, like your standard M16 or M4, or even like that style and pattern, that has those plastic hand guards. It's on an M16A1, they were triangular. On the A2s, and then the original M4, they were a round with ridges on them, so that you could grip them and have all of your different textures and whatnot. And then the non-free floated would be an extruded metal tube that has, well, I guess I do have one that has no way to mount anything to it. It's just a straight up metal tube with some texturing.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, we'll have, generally speaking, one of the mounting systems.
Yep. So
And
I guess basically the drop in, it's captured at 2 points on the weapon. You have the D ring, which is right after the upper receiver. And then
Yep.
you also have another mounting point on the gas block, which normally had the front sight post
Yep.
built into the gas block. And so when you put in the drop in, it was 2 pieces that would just snap together and be held in place by the D ring, which has a little spring on it. And the downside to that was the barrel was being clamped. So the handguard was touching the upper receiver at the D ring, and then it was also touching the gas block / front sight post, which was attached to the barrel. And so what we kind of discussed a couple weeks ago with accuracy is that when the barrel fires, it is whipping just a little bit. It's
Yep.
vibrating, and having that second point touching the barrel or clamping onto the barrel kind of messes with the barrel harmonics a little bit, and therefore throws off the accuracy of the rifle just a little bit. Now, when you look at it from a military standpoint, if you're shooting, 400-600 meters, especially on like an M4, which is meant to be more of a CQB style weapon, not really a big deal, right? But
Yep.
that weapon was also designed in the 50s, so we've come a long way since then.
Well, and so one of the biggest things that has come up with that was the advent, and we can't really talk about like hand guards and things of that nature without touching on the mounting systems, because otherwise it would be that straight extruded tube that just was a circle that would not touch the barrel. But everybody wants to mount things to their handguard because you want to have your toilet paper dispenser, your laser, your your grips, and your grips that are still sold out from VZ Grips. And the unique features of AR grips from VZ Grips are they're machined from a solid block of G10. G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when covered in mud, blood, and sweat. The 17-degree angle, wide variety of textures from mild to extreme, and color options available And there are also shorty versions available. 1911 grips also available. Extreme customizability with standard slim palm swells, thumb notches, safety cuts, and bottom profiles, etc. More than 25 textures and 27 colors. There's a coupon code good for all of these, and it is 15% off everything at BZ Grips, and that is AR-15 podcast. So, well, I just segued into that ad read because we started talking about grips. There are typically 3 different ways to mount things to the handguard. And they are the pick rail, so military standard 1913 rail, or the pick rail, Picatinny rail, which actually a lot of people think is old, but is relatively new. Yep, right there. Tyler's showing one on camera. This is the same type of rail that you'd have on a flat top receiver. And so pick rail actually was standardized in 1995.
Yep.
And might be the coolest thing to ever come out of New Jersey.
And it's great. And even we're going to talk about 2 more mounting options. Those mounting options still require the pick rail design. This particular gun has a free float handguard on it right here, right? So basically, and what's even unique about this one, this is an LMT Defense Mars L, where the handguard and the handguard and the upper receiver are actually one solid block of aluminum. So they're not 2 different pieces. But this barrel is free floating in here. And this is kind of a little bit of an older model where the pick rail, or what we used to call the quad rail, which is also a drop-in for the older handguards that we discussed earlier. But the benefit to this is, there's a lot of mounting. You have 4 areas that you can mount, 6, 12, 3, and 9. And this was the standard for a long time, especially late 90s, early 2000s. The downside to this is, there's a lot of weight there. And as you can see on my weapon, I have a forward grip. I have front sights, and normally I have a light on here as well. But there's a lot of rail that I'm actually not using, but I'm still carrying around all of that weight. And that's where the other 2 options that we're going to talk about come in.
Yep. And so when we get into this, what Tyler was talking about earlier with the drop-ins that would not be free floated would be for the military, it would be the Knights Armament RAS, RAS. That is a system the military, primarily the Army, selected to add rails to their existing rifles. There are over 1 million of those that they've produced. And I have used them. Now, those are a little bit different than just your standard plastic handguards, because they do have screws that will push up, like to add retention around it to try and kind of free float it, but it's still clamping the barrel at 2 different spots. Like, any way you get around it, it is better, but not the best. So the free floated handguards are the best. And the ways of attaching things to those free floated handguards, which again would go back and attach to the barrel nut. But so we already showed and talked about the pick rail. So in 2012, some guys at a company called Voltor looked at some hardware store shelving and went, "Hey, you know what? We should put that on our rifles." And Keymod was born. And it was open source, and you didn't have to pay any royalties to anyone. And everyone, so a bunch of people jumped on and went, "We're going to make Keymod stuff." And that is the one that has a circle and then a notch that comes out from it that's slightly smaller.
Looks like a skeleton keyhole, basically.
Yep, skeleton keyholes. And, that's what it traditionally would be, and that's why it's called Keymod. So you could, just run this up, and you can attach things directly to it, like some of the aforementioned grips, like angle foregrips, vertical foregrips, etc. There are light mounts. There are all of these things that would go in. And what they did was removed weight from having all that extra aluminum. So you
I
didn't
don't,
need to have the full pick rail.
and I'm not a key mod fan, right? So I don't actually have any examples here that I can show. But when we get to M-Lock, I'm your guy.
Yes, I also do not have any key mod.
No, I don't think I have any of my first dealings with the pick rail was on the Rigger SR556, and like Tyler said, it just made the gun heavier than it needed to be because there was a lot of real estate that was not vitalized.
Now, Dooley, I thought you had to pay a royalty or a license fee to use key mod, and that's why M-Lock was gaining such popularity. Or do I have that mixed around?
So M-Lock is the one that is not open source.
Mhm.
M-Lock was designed in 2015 by Magpul. And with that, it was for a lot of their replacement handguards because it was easier to machine, and it was just a, in my opinion, better looking way of doing it because it was just oval lengths that were of a standard. And then that's why when you look at all of the M-Lock handguards, you will see that little M with the almost a T put on it for like the M-Lock symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because they pay a little bit of a royalty to it.
Yep.
For M-Lock. Now, this debate was almost entirely killed off because in 2017, the McGee report came out. And for anyone who doesn't know what the McGee report is, this will tell you what a nerd I am. I have legitimately sat around and read a Army publishing that was a PowerPoint of which mounting system is best to replace pick rail, and it was all of the data points and math that they did to go back and forth with drop testing between Keymod and M-Lock. And they were also talking about what they had for like holding on to things and how much it would shift for accuracy, because they were talking a lot about the like laser or adding a laser and things of that nature, and having your laser shift. If it's not accurate or doesn't hold a zero, you might as well not have a laser. And the M-Lock won that handily. Like, I think the average deviation on that was, because it's a 43-page report that goes through how everything is mounted and what they used. They used the same 3 handguards from 3 different manufacturers, and just that they went okay because these 3 manufacturers each produced an M-Lock and a key mod. So they actually used one of the quantum handguards from Arrow in key mod and M-Lock, a Midwest Industries one, and a Seekins Precision one. And in both M-Lock and key mod to go through all these things, and they used the laser to go with it, and they actually put a jig up that was a really interesting machine, in my opinion, because I will share this with you, and Tyler might have seen one of these machines before, but this was to simulate recoil.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at what they have here, they screwed the barrel into a plate to check the endurance. and then they went 20 iterations for 10,200 simulated rounds, firing at a cyclic rate of 1,020 rounds per minute
Wow.
to test those different mounting systems. And then everything did pretty well through that, but the drop test was where M-Lock really took over and outshined Keymod.
Okay.
Because it's, again, you can Google to find this report, but I will read this here because it goes through and explains how the waves work and the math behind it and peak load versus not. But what everyone really wants to know is, okay, we dropped it. So when you drop test something, they would, they had the M4A1 lower receiver, 1 per handguard configuration. They had 6 URGs, 3 Keymod, 5 accessory rails, 3 M-Lock, 6 weapon light mounts, and 1 weapon light. So the simulated weapon light was installed on the 5-slot accessory rail. Accessory rail was installed 9 o'clock position on the forwardmost position, 6 drops of the handguard, and 6 specified orientations. All samples were dropped from a height of 5 feet onto a steel plate. So drop number 1, major horizontal axis, normal firing orientation. Drop 2, major axis vertical, buttstock down. Drop 3, muzzle down. And then 45 degrees of buttstock and muzzle. And then drop 6 was a direct impact on the weapon light. And results in the Keymod was first one, no damage. Second one, accessory rail loose but in position. Drop 3, no damage. Drop 4, rear mounting nut pulled through the handguard and fractured between the Keymod slots. Drop 5, accessory rail detached from the handguard. So they dropped it and it broke off. And in almost every test, they fractured because it went through. They did this 3 different times. And as it went through, they would continue to drop and continue to break off. One of the last ones here, the final position was 8 feet away from the handguard after they dropped it. And everything they had for Keymod, they completely deformed, either breaking out the slots in between or just tearing out whole chunks of the handguard. And when they went to M-Lock, what they wound up having happen was it would slide. Like sometimes it would slide a ½ inch, but that was all that happened. It wasn't ripping out and tearing. And I'm alone again. All right. Well, I guess that would explain why the guys weren't talking to me. But I will share that for anyone who wanted to see while I'm waiting for them to come back. And if you look here, you can see how those tore out between. And that would be with the muzzle pointing down. And that's where those were being ripped out. So that's where having the ability to mount these comes in very important. Tyler's back.
I don't know what happened.
Garth will be popping in back again soon. I'm not sure what happened where I lost you guys. I was somewhere in the middle of my diatribe on the Keymod breaking.
Were you still reading Army reports after 5 minutes?
Yes, I was. I just got off the Army reports.
So basically what you're saying is when it comes to abuse of the rifle, there is less shift on with the M-Lock mounting system than there is the Keymod, and therefore Keymod is, M-Lock's the way to go, is what you're saying.
Correct. I would say that, you guys just missed me sharing this sweet picture. So if you look here at
Oh,
when
sure.
when these went out, those small slots between those key mod pieces
Yep.
would rip out because
Interesting.
they just didn't have enough surface area.
Yep.
to
Less
hold
amount
that.
of material in between them. Ah,
Yep.
I've never seen that. That's interesting.
Yep. So that is in that McGee report that I just spent 5 minutes reading and going through how it all went through in the drop testing and etc.
So at the end of the day, the biggest thing, in my opinion, when you look at these two rails, right, is like M-Lock, whether it's M-Lock or key mod, right, all of this stuff is machined out. So this rail, which essentially has these holes in it, which are M-Lock, are considerably lighter than this quad rail. Now, with that said, you still need the Picatinny rail to actually mount stuff. Well, I shouldn't say that, because they do make a lot of stuff nowadays that mounts directly as M-Lock. But most of the time, you can buy these individual pick rails that will just screw right in here. So you're only putting pick rail where you really need it, i.e., where you're going to mount your bipod, where you're going to mount your weapon light, etc.
Yep. Well,
Now,
I have Magpul bipods that mount straight to M-Lock.
mm-hmm.
And that's great. I even have Surefire weapon lights that mount straight to M-Lock.
So here's a vertical grip, actually, and a angled grip that I have, but these guys mount directly to the M-Lock. So again, you have a lot of weight savings right there. And one other particular thing I want to show you on this scar that I have. So this particular section of Picatinny rail that I have is actually from a company called Kinetic Development Group. And what's cool about it is when I turn it on its side, you'll notice that there are no mounting screws. And that's because it actually has a spring-loaded retaining system. So traditionally what you have to do is you have to get your Allen wrench and you have to get your pick rail and you mount it to either your key mod or your M-Lock, and you have to use this tool to actually put it in place. What's really slick about what Kinetic Development Group did is if you take your, make sure I get in the camera here, M-Lock weapon, and you take their particular rails, you can just press them into the M-Lock slot without any tools, and it's locked in place. So let's say you have a weapon light. I knew a guy who did a lot of hog hunting, and so he had his gun set up for home defense, and then when he went hog hunting, he would actually just compress, pull it right off, and he would swap his weapon light for his IR laser. It was a pretty slick setup. So I use these guys quite a bit. I can mount different stuff and easily detach it from my weapon. So,
yep, yeah. And those are a super solid option.
Yeah,
those are fantastic. I'm gonna have to order like 100 of them.
Yep. And then this is I know you got a scar too there, Garth. This is one of their scar rails from KDG, and it gives you a lot more rail for you to work with. So
nice.
Speaking of more rail, and when you were showing that, I saw that came out from before the front sight post. Or I'm sorry, it went around the front sight post on that scar is in the middle there between your sections of rail.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
That's because the upper receiver of the scar actually ends right here, and then the gas block. Traditionally, it's outside of the rail, which allows for easy access and, of course, manipulation between the unsuppressed and suppressed gas piston setting. Now, the drawback with the scar, right, is that it does kind of have a really short upper receiver. And when you're a taller dude and you want to get like that C-clamp style grip on it and you really want to control your muzzle climb, especially on a 308, you really want to get out there. And adding this extra little bit of rail, which I'm trying to keep it in the camera, really, really helps.
Okay, well, we just had a question pop up on somebody asked, any tips for shooting right-handed but left-eye dominant? Probably worrying unnecessarily. I'm new to the AR platform. Shoot it left-handed.
Yeah, 100%.
If you are left-eye dominant, you have to run that rifle on the left side and just either get the ambidextrous stuff or learn to work it as a lefty. And it is possible. I know a lot of people who do it. I mean, I could tell you to very, very much so, you could go through and I could tell you how to force your eyes to change dominance, because in about a week you can do that. But
Weird.
I might not recommend that for everyone. So one thing that I was going to say with a lot of the sites that they have, there's one other thing that we talked about since we were talking about attachments and things of that nature. And we talked before about like bridging your optics and how you don't want to bridge optics on an AR between handguard and upper receiver.
Like this?
Yeah, like Garth does.
Yeah, like I do, which I will switch eventually when my suppressors come in.
But when you're when you have that stuff going on, there is one thing that will be out on the front of your rail, and that would be probably your backup iron sights. So when you're running backup iron sights, it is important to, one, have them at the same height across, so you don't have like one a half inch higher or lower than the other one. But where you put them is also important, so you get the sight radius. This is just one of those fun fact of the day for you. a M16, or I'm sorry, an M4 has like 14 and a half, 15, depending which source you look at, inch sight radius, which is also the approximate sight radius of an AK. Like a standard full-size AK, they have the same sight radius.
Huh.
It's just we use a peep and a post instead of the notch cut and post. So our iron sight system is far superior, in my opinion. And and on a 20-inch barrel, it'd be about it's actually a 20-inch sight as well, because you have to add in that whole receiver.
And definitely have backup iron sights on your weapon. I mean, I see people ask me, well, do I really need to get them if I have a red dot, if I have a holographic? Yes, you do. You need it because those batteries are going to go out. Your glass can get shattered. Shit can happen. That's why it's called a backup iron sight. Do you have to go out and buy these crazy ass thimble adjustable backup iron sights? No. In my mind, I mean, it's a precision iron sight is kind of an oxymoron in a sense that, there's more human error that can go into that. Really, it's for if your primary optic goes down, you have a backup that is zeroed, that is reliable, so that when technology shits the bed, like it does a lot of times, you're still able to function.
Are you ready for me to go down a rabbit hole on precision iron sights?
Please do, because I was going to ask a really stupid question. So go ahead.
So, precision iron sights. The main reason why the ring and post, the ghost ring with the post in the front is more accurate, is because that small aperture actually makes your eye focus and work kind of like a telescope. So there are front sight posts that you can get to replace the existing ones that screw out. And they took something from like extreme old like technology and something that they still do in air gun, like Olympic air gun, where they will use a double aperture sight.
Interesting.
So what that means is you'll have your circle, that you're looking through at the closest to the eye, and then you'll have another smaller circle in front, and you look through both of the circles, and that's what your sight is.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's it's a crazy way to look through things, but it does actually force you to have a clearer view of the target. So that is a precision iron sight. Now, you don't see them very often, but it is something that you can do. And otherwise, I've routinely shot not extreme distances with iron sights, but out to 600 meters with them. And having backup iron sights on a rifle that you have for, especially for if something's going wrong or bump in the night, that's when you want to have a a battle rifle that would have your backup iron sights.
Well, that's my question then. Do you need the back iron sight, or can you just have the front one and lollipop it to say a red dot, and then?
Nope. If you're gonna run backup iron sights, you need both.
Okay.
Yep. And when I say, I mean what Dooley's talking about, I guess that is more of a true precision iron sight where it's a double aperture. And what I'm talking about is something more like on the Scar 17 here, where you can, I kind of got it blocked off because of my Elcan here, but you can rotate the thimble, and what happens is it moves the aperture up and down, and there are actually distances into the side of this sight. So if you're shooting at a target at 400 meters, you turn the thimble to 400 meters. But the problem with that is I've designed sights like this before. There are a certain amount of machining tolerances that go into this. So mathematically, when you calculate, because bullet drop is very predictable as long as you know your sight radius, the type of round that you're using, the barrel length, height over bore, all of that can be very, very accurately calculated, and it's very predictable. What isn't predictable is your machining tolerances. So when when weapon manufacturers are actually making this stuff, they're designing to a nominal tolerance, and then their machines might be off, plus or minus 10 thou. It depends on how accurate the machines are, what type of part they're making, etc. But that 10 thousandths of an inch in height adjustment on these apertures can actually put you off, 50, just throwing a number out there, but like 50 yards, right? So if you're thinking that you're the best shot in the world and you're able to, accurately place that front sight post perfectly in the center of that rear aperture, well, the rear aperture might be off slightly based on the machining tolerances from the manufacturer. So that's where I kind of say precision iron sights, in the sense where you have a rotating thimble like that, is kind of an oxymoron, but that's just my opinion.
Well, and what you're saying is that we weren't really comparing apples to apples. I was just talking about
Right.
rather, it's like, oh, here's this extreme case of things you can do.
Yep.
And I do know that they make a.
So you're not recommending a double aperture on your AR-15?
I am not. I have actually shot one before, though.
Oh, really? I have not. I get the concept, but yeah, I have not.
Was it on an AR?
It was on a
AK-47.
It was on an M16A2 actually, because somebody had that. Actually, this one really wasn't me. Somebody else had gone through and decided they needed to see their front sight post better, so they had put one on. And I looked at it, and then everyone was complaining because it went wide. And I was like, "Oh no, you got to look through it." And I realized, how much better it was. But it's really hard to see like a 1/16 of an inch hole at 20 inches when you're.
My main sights are accurate out to 1,000 yards because it says it can.
Yeah, I'm a Mosin.
That's marketing. Marketing can say almost anything they fucking want as long as it's not 100% lie.
Well, I can tell you that in Iraq and Afghanistan, they used to have issues with the AKs and accuracy because they would flip them to 10 or to 1,000, and then they'd have their sights jacked up so they were shooting at that distance, but it was because they thought that was how to get the most power out of the bullets.
It's all about that bullet power.
Yep, they're like, oh, it's adjustable, so at 10 it's low, and on 1,000 it's high, so we want to have full power. And that was a thing that happens. Is a thing. But no, there are sometimes I would say you don't need to have a set of backup iron sights on it. If you are running if you're running a prism optic, if you're running a rifle scope that has non-quick detach rings, like if you have to break out a screwdriver and stuff to take your scope off, then it becomes kind of a moot point to have readily accessible backup iron sights.
Yeah.
Well, unless they're co-witnessed. I mean,
well, that is true. Co-witnessing through a 1x prism sight might work. I'm not sure how you co-witness through some of the rifle optics.
Agreed.
Now, like an LPVO, where if you had it on 1 power, you probably could get it to co-witness depending on the reticle to make sure nothing was in the way.
Well, and you can always have 45-degree sights as well. So
45-degree offsets.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, would work as well. I have iron backups on mine. I mean, I still have an A2 style.
Plus, it looks really cool when you do that like little flip, and really that's what it's all about, just looking cool.
Operator status. Yep.
Yeah, operator status.
Well, the trick is you got to put the 45-degree irons on one side.
Yeah.
And then on the other side have the red dot.
Oh, that's kinky as shit, man.
So you can, so you're like, oh, it really depends what it is because you're ready for both the EMP and.
So your red dot's zeroed for 100, your 45-degree offset's zeroed for 200, and then your iron sights are zeroed for 300. You can't miss, right?
Yeah, that's 100%. That's right. No, in all seriousness, there are ways to do that, and having iron sights is important. I know that one of the old hosts used to talk about iron sights all the time, but I also keep some iron sights around, but I keep backup iron sights on some. If it's just my straight up competition rifle, I don't have backup irons on it.
Sure.
Because
your zombie rifle has it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
As I call it, my go-to-war gun does.
Yep.
That's got all kinds of stuff on it.
I mean, these 5 backup iron sights, they're all safe in my my chest or drawer over there, so I'll get that someday.
I mean, even my little this is my, you guys have seen this the past couple weeks, my 22 plinker that I built.
Mm-hmm.
This has, I mean, they're cheap, don't get me wrong, they're not Troy Industries by any means, but even this thing has aluminum backup iron sights, just in case.
Oh yeah, and I've run the polymer Magpul iron sights for a lot of years as well.
And they're great.
Yeah. Not bad.
Yes, they're still iron sights even if they're plastic.
Yeah.
Because that's what they call them on Glocks, as iron sights, and all they are is notch protectors.
No.
So, guys, do we have anything else to add other than the fact that I legitimately went through about 5 minutes of reading Army articles and didn't realize you were gone?
I wish I'd have been here for it, but my computer was freaking out, so I apologize for that.
Well, if you stay on afterwards, I'm sure he'll read it to you again, all 43 pages.
Oh, don't worry. I'm pretty sure I can watch the replay.
And the references.
Yes.
So I would say get backup iron sights. If you're going to buy a handguard, I highly recommend M-Lock for the weight savings, the modularity, and just the ease of use. Key mod's okay, but yeah, I'm an M-Lock guy all day long.
What were the rails you had snapped in?
And that is from Kinetic Development Group. I believe they are out of Pennsylvania. Yeah, they're pretty slick setup. I met them at the SHOT Show 3 years ago, and that's yeah. I only have one of their rails, which is on the SCAR. For a while there, they were really the go-to. They were really the go-to. company for SCAR accessories, in my opinion, I guess. And so I really don't have a lot of their stuff, but it is definitely on my SCAR.
Yep, they even make like a special charging handle they call the scarging handle that changes the angle of it. And oh yeah, look at
You
that.
mean that?
One.
Trust me. So the one thing I really hate about this gun is the fact that this is a reciprocating charging handle. And normally I would have it right here. However, it hasn't happened yet, but I know I'm going to lose a fucking thumb one day because of it. So I actually keep it on the right side. So I'm forced to
Run it like an AK.
And then my hand is always, no matter where I put this hand over here, I'm never going to get SCAR thumbed.
Yep. I think the newest iteration of SCAR that they just released is a non-reciprocating charging.
Fucking tell me that. This thing cost me a stupid amount of money.
Mine too.
Yep. As the only host that doesn't own a SCAR.
Yes.
Ha
Hey, I'll sell you this one. I had to wait 6 months on 5 different waiting lists to get it, but I got it.
Hey, you know what? That's okay because I'm not going to get one because I will get the proper right arm of the free world and get my FAL to match my M14 to go with my pair of AR-10s.
God, you're fucking old as shit.
Yes, I am. I have the old guns. It's also I'm the one who has, the A2 style guns.
Yep.
And I'm okay with it. I also probably have more Berettas than anyone should.
I had some. I got rid of them because they're junk.
They are junk. I'm glad I ended up buying one, and I immediately got rid of it. And I was just like, oh, I'll get it because it's what we use in the Army. And I fucking hated it. 3 months later, I was out. Thank God we switched.
And I still have all of mine.
Yep. And I will argue with anyone that Glock was a better choice over the 320. I think that's a show in of itself. Because I know there was a lot of diehard Glock fans out of there who wanted that. But after using the 320 or the M17, whatever you want to call it, I'm a huge fan and understand why the military went with it.
M17 is a better platform, in my opinion.
That's fine. I ain't gonna argue that. I mean, my safe is full of 320s and Glock 17s. So
yeah.
And mine's full of Glocks mine's full of Berettas, M&Ps, 320s.
High points.
There's only one high point in there.
one more than I have.
Yep. But basically, what I'm getting out of this is Garth swings both ways.
Yes, and I
do.
am a collector of firearms.
You got the pineapple rug right in front of your gun safe.
I have 2 red lights on at my house.
See it in mine. Sometimes I want to go out and carry my 1911 with my M14, and then I'll grab my M4 and my Beretta.
In your 1974 Crown Victoria boat.
Oh no, Garth sold that.
Oh.
The Mercury is no more. Out in Rapid City, someone want to go buy it, they can buy it for $14,000 because that's what he's got it listed for. Yeah, that was my reaction exactly.
All right. Well, before we digress into too much else random,
yeah,
do we have anything else to say to our listeners?
I'm in agreement with Tyler. Go get the M-Lock. That's my jam. It's the Picatinny Rail was my first, but man, the M-Lock is the way to go.
Yep. Free float all day.
Yep. Free float, all the things. And well, I do still have, at least one true quad rail. I also ordered a RAS drop-in for a 20-inch to do my M16A4 clone build. And that will be, just another one of those oddities that I have because it's something I think is neat.
Yeah.
And when we get down to it, having all these things, it's either quad rail gang or M-Lock because no one wants baby dicks on their rifle. So,
Yep. The only reason I still have quad rail is because this is monolithic and it's built in. Otherwise, I would definitely switch it out for M-Lock.
see, I have this problem where if I find a detent, I just build another rifle. So I just,
Do it.
look
Yeah, but
back.
you know what? Do you know what one of these upper receivers costs? I mean, fuck, these are $1,400 upper receivers right now.
Yep.
They're.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with holding on to it.
I'll just do a few more fucking bicep curls and deal with this for that shit.
Harumph.
Yeah.
So, well, I have nothing else. Tyler says, do more bicep curls and run a quad rail. Garth, do you have anything to add?
Oh man, just have everyone go out and check out the network. I mean, you can find all our affiliate programs on there. We've got a great number of them. They're got some really good deals on them. Again, VZ Grips, AR-15 podcast. It's a great code to get 15% off. I mean, I think they're still actually sold out of the AR grips currently. So
I want to know where Jock Itch is shopping because shit, the last one I literally saw one today for $13.50. Yeah, you can just go ahead and send me that link, sir.
All right, and guys, make sure that you're. So after you do that, hit us up on all social medias. Make sure you're getting in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'll even answer odd questions like I did on Instagram today when someone sent us a video of a revolver blowing up, and I went, "Oh, hey, look at that! That was a revolver out of time."
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And, because a gun blew up in his face.
Oof.
All right,
Micro.
so it'll be a car 15 and Block 2 had a baby. Now this is the same guy who made that amazing steampunk Fallout 22 that I showed you guys a long time ago.
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, we'll pull up pictures of it later and I'll send it to you.
I'm in.
But, well, guys, everyone out there, remember to buy ammo, go through True Shot. I did see for members of the A-Zone Club, they have something I think I might have to buy several of now. The ammo bags that have like a little Velcro stamp so you can just put like 300 rounds of 9 or a 223, and they are a loose ammo storage bag. And they have a Velcro patch on them that you can write what they are. So you don't have to carry the full ammo can.
That'd be kind of nice.
Cool.
And, they had a special discount code. I'm not going to tell you anyone what it is, but they are free on the next order for A-Zone members.
Well, I suppose I better go sign up. I haven't been buying ammo because reasons, but why not?
All right. Well, everyone out there, you guys stay armed and stay safe.